Still getting set up. Can you hear me? Hello. Still getting set up. Can you hear me? Hello. Still getting set up. Oops. Can you hear me? Hello. Still getting set up. Can you hear me? Hi there. Welcome to another live stream from ClodeWorks. I'm Kyle Linneman. Today I'm going to be playing some trumpet and doing my looping as usual, but this time I'm doing it a little bit different. I'm also going to do a little tech demo of a custom looper that I'm working on in Max MSP, which I've just started getting back into after quite a long hiatus. Things you do when you're stuck in front of a computer instead of out playing shows and focusing on that. So, yes. I'm really excited for this because everything's on my computer, so I can actually see the audio levels and see the chat and know that you're hearing me and that I can read your kind words and respond to them. It's more fun that way. So, let me switch views. So, what was happening while the loading screen was going was I was playing a loop of the roads over there into my custom looper in Max MSP. If you've never heard of Max MSP, it's a visual programming language for audio and video. But today we're mostly doing just audio, and Max is for data like MIDI and other sorts of data. And you can basically do anything, like as you can see on the screen, like here I have my where the audio comes in from my mic. And then I draw little cables to different places, and eventually it comes out to a speaker. So, yeah, let me start with giving you a little demo of what it looks like when I'm playing on it. So, I guess conceptually the idea was I wanted to make a looper that I could do for long periods of time, because, you know, with a normal looper like my one off screen that I'm pointing at, you know, you do like in a couple bars, you press start and then you press stop. But I was working on a recording project, and to kind of get outside of my creative box that I'm in, I was thinking, what if that loop period wasn't just a couple bars? What if you had it like preset to 1 minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes? It would get more interesting because you wouldn't have any control over the timing. And knowing me, like by the time I got to the end of that minute, I won't have remembered what I played at the beginning. So it was a good way for me to like have that kind of conversation with myself, because when you play with the looper and you play like quick succession with yourself, you know, you kind of get into a rut. But I feel like the more distance between what I had played, it would get closer to playing with people. Geez, I want it to get nice out so I can play with people, basically. Anyways, So yeah, audio comes in. I set in the increment here, start the looper. This is a little bar that shows me it shows where you're at in the loop so that you have some sort of frame of reference. This is the output. And I added reverb because everybody likes reverb. Makes everything sound better. So let me give you a demo with, we'll just do a quick 10-second loop. So that's how the looper works. Or not how it works, but how it looks in action. Cool. So now for a fun tech demo of how it gets put together. So like I said, it's Max is all visual, so you make little boxes and you connect them. So we'll start at the ADC, audio to digital converter. So converts my mic into digital signals, and you can see it processing things here, amplitude and frequency. So then that gets routed into this record, which records into a buffer of memory. So it, this is where it gets kind of weird because it's not physically connected, but I'm recording to a buffer called record me. So in the buffer is actually set over here. So I'm setting the size of it to be the number of milliseconds of my loop. So it's recording into there, and then there's a bunch of logic to play it back, and the playback happens here. So when it plays it back into the record, thus creating a loop where it keeps recording the same thing and adding what I record. And the play also goes out through the reverb to the speakers, represented by that little icon there. So then the magic happens in all this other stuff, which basically gets down into two sections. This section over here is the starting and stopping. So when I start the looper, it sets off a metronome, and the metronome is set to whatever in milliseconds, and it'll, when I start it, you can see it generating a message every minute or 10 seconds. So then over here, I have a bunch of stuff that does math to convert minutes and seconds into milliseconds. Basically, that's what all this is, which was like the pain point. They've made it really easy. I haven't done this in a few years, so they made it really easy. They have all these libraries where you can just grab and throw stuff in, like, oh, I want a filter, or oh, I want, you know, reverb or delay. But when it comes to like the programming math part of it, that's where I'm a little rusty. So I had to do all this kludgy stuff to do, like, you know, multiply the minutes by 6,000 milliseconds and get that all aligned, and then get that number that it creates to go to like the 10 million places it needs to go to get to loop correctly. Everything synced up. So I think that's basically how it works. And then I always have what I'm going to work on for making it better, because if I've learned one thing in working in software development, it's that whatever you write is never done. And then it's cool, you can program all this stuff, and then you can select what you want to display in presentation mode, so you're not like staring at all these lines and boxes and getting overwhelmed. There's some really cool stuff created with Max, a lot of custom stuff. If you check it out online, it's pretty powerful. This isn't even using like the video stuff where you can create like live visuals for your performances, which hopefully I can get that set up for some future time. So I'm going to stop talking so much, and I'm going to actually use it for what I designed it for, which is some longer format loops. So I don't think I mentioned this earlier, but the inspiration for this was, it started last year when I was planning what stuff I wanted to release for 2020, and I had two releases, and then I had planned a third and a fourth, and I was like, well, what should I do for my fifth? And I came up with this idea. I don't know how I came up with it, of, well, my fifth release should be 5 tracks, 5 minutes long each, and each track would have 5 trumpet tracks. So it's like 5, 5, 5, 5, 5. But then I found a release that I had like recorded a long time ago and never released, so that was like technically like I'd already hit my fifth. So then I refigured it, and it's still a work in progress, but it's going to be called Number Works, and the concept is track 1 is 1 track, 1 minute long, with 1 note. Track 2 is 2. I can only use 2 notes for 2 minutes with 2 tracks of trumpet, and it goes up to, right now it's going up to 7 for an EP. And I'm still working on that, because it ended up being some of it ended up being a lot more complicated. So in that vein, I'll start doing a 1 minute loop. It would help if I turn this on, huh? This came out a lot less jazzy than I was envisioning when I hit record, which is kind of interesting. How about I do one more and then call it an evening? Um, does anybody have any requests or ideas that I should start with when I come up with this next one? I might up the clock a little bit to, let's let's do 130. But yeah, this is one of those things where um, it's really easy to get. Ooh. It's one of those things where it's really easy to get into a rut if you're recording and are looping or using the same hardware, same software, doing the same thing over and over again. You kind of just retread the same paths, and then you don't really get anywhere new. So the power, I think, to me for Max is like just being able to set up these situations where I'm pushing myself in a new direction, and you know even if it comes up, even if I'm doing something completely weird, it could come out with something. I hear something in these loops that I like, and I move into a more normal, traditional track. So, okay, one last one for the road with the flugelhorn. That one was a little more jazzy, I think. Uh, the hard part, or the part that I'm still figuring out, or you know, I've created this new situation for myself, and there's certain strategies. Like, do I play something really dense so they have a lot of material to work with later, and just add, little flourishes to it, or do I play something really basic and then like riff over that later when I've kind of established something? Go at it both ways, see what happens. This one I went played a lot of notes to begin with. At least for me, I played a lot of notes. Um, yeah, you never know where you're gonna go. And the hard thing with even with the bar, it's hard to stop on, to know exactly when it's gonna stop. Um, but I think that's part of the fun, is all those challenges. So it's what's keeping me occupied. So cool. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you. Oh no. I toggled recording off. Anyways, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for calling me a handsome man in a hat. And I will see you all in 2 weeks. If anybody has any ideas of what I should do in 2 weeks, let me know, and I will try to accomplish it for you. Help me to entertain you. Cheers.